Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
They're asking for the same budget priorities that many affluent suburbs already have. And it may sound strange, but many affluent suburbs have essentially already begun pursuing a defunding of the police, in that they fund schools, they fund housing, and they fund healthcare more as their number one priorities.
AOC right there. Here's something weird. I agree with her. But here's where the Democrats screw up. It's not defunding police. It's reallocation of things. I talked to a former police chief out here in Phoenix yesterday, and he and I were chatting, and he was on my local show, and he's a good guy, and he gets it. And he's no longer, he was in the business, you know, he said, I was in policing for 40 years. And there's a lot of programs that don't work. There's a lot of programs, they just don't work. But in government, here's the thing. You can't say your program doesn't work. You've got to spend all your money so you can continue to get money. They don't want you to be efficient, because if you're efficient, they'll cut your budget and move things elsewhere. And then when you do want to expand or need it, it's a fight. And that's the problem. In the private world, right, as opposed to the public, if something doesn't work, you pivot, put that money elsewhere. In the public world, whether it's education, housing, whatever it is, if it doesn't work, you just throw more money at it. Why? Because it's not yours, and the accountability is none. In the private world, the accountability is you'll either go out of business, or if you're running a big corporation and it fails, they'll fire you and replace you. In the public world, it's not like that. And it's not defunding. It's allocating things for different parts of the community that work. Camden, New Jersey, a little over a decade ago, was as violent as El Salvador. That's what the murder rate was. They decided to put money in other programs. Guess what? It worked. It worked. Policing didn't stop. Instead of being warriors, as they used to call them in the streets, they were guardians of the streets. They went to de-escalation. They saw a drop in violent crime and homicide that was tremendous. And they also saw 95% reduction in reports against the police and civilians. It was huge. It's not a defunding. That sounds horrible. You're not selling it well. Right? Like, you wouldn't say, hey, this is the best steak in the world. What's it called? Crappy steak. Well, that sounds horrible. Yeah, it's called the crappy steak. Tastes great. Well, why don't you change the name? Maybe to delicious. Why would we do that? Because you're trying to sell it. Police needs to be modernized. But also, as I was chatting with him yesterday, great guy, Kevin Robinson's name, just a good dude. And as we're chatting, he said, you know, I asked him, I said, let me ask you. So when you started, I said, see how things have changed, where you used to be chasing bad guys and all of these things. That's what you got into it. And your hope was, and he goes, yeah, now it's different. Now you have to be an addict specialist. You have to be basically, we're now asking police to fix all that's broken in society. Addiction, homelessness, abuse, that you need to be a referee. He said when he first started, and I found this to be interesting, he said, when I first started, he goes, my training sergeant, for the first 3 weeks, so he goes, I'm fresh out of the academy, I've done all my stuff, this is what I'm doing. He goes, for the first 3 weeks, what did I do? He goes, we went to middle and elementary schools, and all we did was answer questions all day. And I finally got frustrated, and I said, this isn't what it is. He goes, what have you been doing? He goes, I've been answering questions and listening to these kids. He goes, that's exactly it. Communication is the best tool you have. That is the best tool you have. And I was like, yeah, it is. It's a reimagining. It's not a defunding. I don't know who does this for any of these people. Because there are people out there that want to get rid of cops altogether. That's insane. That is just nuts. Cops aren't the bad guys. Are there some bad cops? Absolutely. Are there some people who get into it for the wrong reason? Yes. Are there some people who get into it for the right reason, but they're not capable of the job itself? Yes. But if you reimagine it in a way where we use technology and communication, we put money in programs that help build up the cities rather than keep them as they are in a lot of places, which is run down and full of hopelessness, and start to do things. Guess what the cops get to do? They get to look for the really bad people. And they also don't have to be society's referee, society's mother and father, their addiction specialist, their homelessness specialist. I think that's what most people want. Because if you fix it before it's like, think of it this way. Think of it as a body. Right? If you take care of your body when you're younger, your body will take care of it when you're older. If you're overweight, you smoke, you drink, you don't exercise, when you get older, you need all kinds of help. But if you take care of it along the way and nurture it and do the right things, guess what happens? When you get older, it takes care of you. Makes life easier. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us and text the program. Yesterday, George Floyd was laid to rest. It was moving. It was very, like, you watched it, it was, look, it lasted a long time. I mean, this was the memorial that was started in Minneapolis, and then the day before it was in Houston, and then he was laid to rest yesterday, and it was moving. There's a guy who, by all accounts, had failed in his life, had some opportunities, pissed him away. He'd readily tell you that, too, by the way. If you see any of the videos and some of the stuff he had talked about, his thing was, don't follow my path. Don't do what I did. Don't do the things that I did. Don't make the mistakes. Let me be the warning to what can happen. Let me be the warning to those out there that, you know what? You got some choices. That's why it was interesting, because so many people are so mad at the way that all of this was handled. Here's a guy who 3 weeks ago, nobody knew who he was. His family and friends, people in the neighborhood. You go 3.5 weeks later, the world knows his name. He was laid to rest in a way that, well, in many cases, befitting that of a leader of countries, head of state. People have protested. And now we have the chance to discuss things in ways that I don't think we've had a chance to discuss in a long time, and never in the way that I think we can now. But the question remains at this moment in time is, where do we go from here? That's the question. Where do we go from here? Because we have the chance to move forward, but will we move forward? Or will this be another situation where, a new shiny object will come across our path and everybody go, ooh, and then nothing will be handled. And then in 3, 4, 5, 6 months, something happens and we're at it again, discussing, going, well, why didn't we do something? Why didn't we talk about it? And all of this is taking place in the middle of what? A pandemic? And that hasn't gone anywhere.
Everywhere is reopened to some degree now, but in 8 states, the number of people being admitted to the hospital with coronavirus is increasing.
When you open, that doesn't mean that everything is okay and you can do whatever you want.
Dr. Anthony Fauci told ABC's Good Morning America, you still have to practice a degree of caution.
You still should be trying as best as possible to have that physical distancing. You still need to wash your hands as often as you possibly can.
Fauci said he's hopeful there could be a vaccine by the end of this year or early next.
He wants 3 vaccines to be funded, test trials. I've said we'll get to a vaccine at some point in time. It may be 2, and it may not work the way that people think. It may not be 100%. Maybe kind of like the flu. But coronavirus still here, still right in front of us. 20 states are seeing an increase in cases. Other states are staying steady. Some are going down. Some open up early, and people are like, you shouldn't do that. Next thing you know, they're seeing their cases drop. Others followed the plan to a T and didn't matter. Cases are going up. Plus, you've got to add in what's taken place over the last 15 nights of protests where you've had, several million people over that time frame protest. That's going to definitely see numbers bump. But just because there's numbers doesn't mean that it's a situation where everybody's hospitalized, and that's what it is. I think that's the other side of it. I look at hospital beds and the crunch on hospitals. And remember, most of those beds right now, nationwide, are not coronavirus. Here in Arizona, even though we've seen an uptick, the reality is 90% of the beds are used in other situations, and a lot of those are people who are getting their surgeries. They're trying to make up 90 days of missed surgeries in a short period of time. So while the hospital beds look full, they're not full of corona patients. But it's definitely something we should be talking about. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show, Twitter. Tweet at me, Wounded Paw Project, amazing organization. Now, I rescue dogs. I've got 3 dogs. They were rescue dogs. I love them to death. Wounded Paw rescues all kinds of dogs. Like the dogs, some of them, the latest 2 that they've rescued and have trained were hard cases. Dogs who were found in landfills that fought. They have now trained them. Instead of being euthanized, one of them is now going to go to an autistic child, and the other one's going to go to a wounded vet. Wounded Paw does amazing things, but they need your help. You can get involved by going to woundedpawproject.org. Maybe right now you're thinking, I'm thinking about buying a new car, right? I've got to trade my car in. Don't. Donate it. They're going to give you great deals at all the car lots. Trust me on that. Donate it. Get a great tax-deductible gift and see the work that they do, knowing that you are a part of that. Find out how you can get involved by going to woundedpawproject.org, woundedpawproject.org, woundedpawproject.org. Chad Benson Show.
No need to fear. We promise we won't give you a noogie and make you cry Russia, Russia, Russia.
Who is the fearless leader?
Fui.
Fui, fui, and double fui.
What is your language? This is a family show, remember?
Fui to families too.
Nostrovia. This is Chad Benson.
As 75-year-old Martin Gugino remains in the hospital after being shoved to the ground by a Buffalo police officer, President Trump promoted a conspiracy theory about him. He tweeted that Gugino could be an Antifa provocateur and was pushed away after appearing to scan police communications in order to black out equipment. I watched. He fell harder than he was pushed. Was aiming scanner. Could be a setup. The president had been watching a segment on One America News.
I don't know what to say. I think the guy is an activist. He's a climate activist. Do I think he's part of Antifa? I posted that yesterday on Twitter, and people were sending me stuff. You could clearly tell it was Photoshop, but they believed that there was they're trying to explain to me the special effects of how would anybody bleed out of their ears and their head. I'm like, are you serious? Oh, you just don't get it. This guy is it's deep state. And I'm just like, that is insane. Look, do I think the cop meant to push him that hard? No. Do I think the fact that he was 75 and somebody who was 25 is probably not going over? Somebody who's 75, probably a bigger chance? But to think that you didn't understand. He's got a jammer, producer Phil. He's got a jammer in his hand. You can see he's jamming the thing. So the covert Antifa activists can do something sweet. They got a sweet move, or they're going to go around the back. You just don't understand, Chad. You're an idiot. Shut up.
Yeah, I saw the tweet. It was a shocking thing to say, and I won't dignify it with any further comment.
You think the blood coming out of his head was staged? You saw his head hit the pavement. You see blood on the pavement. How reckless, how irresponsible, how mean, how crude. I mean, if there was ever a reprehensible, dumb comment, and from the President of the United States.
That's Cuomo right there. That's a guy who sent COVID patients back to nursing homes. I'm sorry, I just don't buy it. People are like, man, you hate Trump. I don't hate Trump. I hate some of the asinine things. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to lie to you. But some of the stuff he's done is okay. But the chaos and the craziness, I could completely do without. And you're not. Here's the thing. Stop thinking he's going to change. I can't believe. I was like, who's buying this? There's no way anybody buys this. And yet, a bunch of people were buying this. A bunch of people were buying into this is what it is. And I'm like, oh, my goodness. J.L. Carvin. Yes, you know him as the Trumpinator.
And they reported they had the courage, excuse me, you didn't have the courage, to report on the Buffalo hoax. This old man, they call him an old man, he's 75, it's not so old. He gets tapped. He gets like a little tap, okay? And he goes falling down to the ground. I'm glad they didn't pick him up, okay? Because it was a hoax. We're calling it Geezergate. It's a total Geezergate. Fake news.
It's awesome. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Just can't buy into it. I'm sorry. I just can't. Trump loves himself a conspiracy. Don't get me wrong, right? He loves himself a conspiracy. He's the president, you know, like we can't tell him there's aliens because he's going to tell the world. We can't tell him who killed Kennedy. We can't tell him certain things. But we also know 9/11's not an inside job, and we did land on the moon because he couldn't keep his mouth shut. Because if we didn't land on the moon, I can guarantee you we would know about it, and we'd be heading there right now. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. That's your Twitter, kids. Your Instagram as well. It is the Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Across the country, 21 states have now seen an increase in cases. Cases up at least 30% in Florida, Arkansas, South Carolina, and North Carolina just in the past week, and a jump of more than 40% in Arizona, Utah, and New Mexico. Texas, among the first to lift stay-at-home restrictions, reports 2 days of record-breaking hospitalizations.
It's rising, oh coronavirus. Not gone anywhere. By the way, producer Phil and producer Anthony, you guys will get a laugh. Yesterday, Nick, who runs our station out in Jacksonville, WOKV, sends me an article, and apparently there's going to be a big race this weekend, like a NASCAR-like event, and instead of fans, they're going to have peaceful protesters allowed to show up. I was like, well, what are you going to say, right? You going to tell them they can't show up? It's going up. What did you expect? I think we realize now it's endemic. It's not going anywhere. There doesn't seem to be a seasonal way to this. The flu's long gone right now. Flu's like, hey, I'm going elsewhere. I'm going south for the winter, and it's taken off. This is kind of just here. As we go out into the world and reemerge, as we've talked about on this particular program, it's not gone anywhere. Like it hasn't. It's still there. The monster never left. We just hid from the monster. But eventually we have to go outside and we're going to have to decide what's the next step, right? What is the next step? Could we be facing another shutdown? That's something people are thinking, is that a possibility? Because we got through this one, and let's be real, it was a struggle, and we didn't weather it as well as I think a lot of people were hoping, because I thought a lot of people thought it was going to be 30 days. Next thing you know, for some states, it was 90-plus days, 100 days. Some states just were battered, not only on the health side, but all states have been battered when it comes to the financial side. And we've not really got any answers from any of the governors across the country when it comes to, could we face another shutdown? Each governor will have to handle it in its own way, because every economist I have talked to said, look, you're looking at probably anywhere between 15 and 20, maybe 25% in some states of small businesses never recovered from this. You're looking at 40 to 60% if we have a second shutdown, and unemployment going from right now 17%, but probably to 30 to 40%, and a recovery that will last 5 to 10 years.
If we continue at a rate like this, we're facing a significant chance that we're going to have to shut down the state again.
That is insane. That's Dr. Sam Durrani talking about it. That is, I couldn't even imagine what that is. What's a second shutdown look like? And how do you do that now that the genie's been out of the bottle? Also, how do you justify a second shutdown to people who've been watching millions of people for the last 15 days, rightly so, protesting, then telling everybody you got to go back indoors again? I don't know if you can.
When is it going to end?
Dr. Anthony Fauci calls it his worst nightmare.
Like, oh my goodness, when is it going to end? It really is very complicated. So we're just at almost the beginning of really understanding it.
Yeah. Then you're facing, we went through school without school. Get a call yesterday after I get off the air from my son. Super excited because yesterday was his last day of school at home. His last day. He was super excited. But the thought process has moved to, what do we do next year? And next year is not too far away. Some students, in theory, would be returning the beginning of August, some early July, but most kids would be back in school within the next 6 to 8 weeks. Do we? Don't we? Because you have to start planning. Those of you who fail to plan to fail, right? Uh-oh. Now, a new study out of Oxford and Cambridge, pretty smart, looking at all the data and numbers that they can look at, which is what's behind them, say the likelihood of a child under the age of 15 dying from the coronavirus is less than them getting hit by lightning. So as far as the worry of the coronavirus and what it could do to children, but we worry about the teachers, who the teachers know, grandma, grandpa, things of that nature, the spread, and how we know if it spreads or not, right? Like 2-3 days ago, the WHO, World Health Organization, asymptomatic people don't spread. 24 hours later, they probably do. I'm like, why are we talking to you? I know people got mad at Trump for defunding and taking money away, saying we're not going to give you any more money, but tell me why it's not, why we should continue to give them money. They can't get their crap together. They're useless. At the end of the day, this was never about getting to what? 0. This was about getting to a place where we have everything in our possession and at our disposal to get back out there that if we did see spikes, and there was naturally going to be spikes because we're returning to the world, that we can handle that. But in the coming weeks, it's going to be very interesting. Plus, you've just added in hundreds of thousands and millions of people collectively over a 15-day period who've been out protesting and will probably continue to do so. What effect does that have on the numbers? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program as well. It's very interesting. Trump looking up, his numbers aren't great. His numbers, I don't care how he wants to spin it. I don't care what they're just not good. I talked to a lot of Republicans, talked to a lot of Democrats. Republicans, look, you can look at Trump and say, man, your actions are very conservative, the way that you've gone about doing it. The attitude in front of the camera is anything but, and that drives people crazy. The way he's handled coronavirus has had more missteps than good steps, and the way that he's handled the George Floyd and what's going on hasn't been great either. Has it? The conspiracy theories, the wackiness. And there's a lot of people out there who are libertarian leaning to the right, independents who lean to the right, who are looking and saying, I don't know if this is the guy. I don't know if he's the dude.
My name is Kenny. I'm a 62-year-old retired accounting firm partner living in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I am a independent and a Ronald Reagan conservative. I voted mostly for Republicans during my voting life, but have become very concerned about the shift in the Republican Party in the past several years towards a very harsh brand of cultural supposed conservatism.
Yeah, and I get it. Like I said, I look at Trump and the actions, and my uncle is a huge supporter of Trump. He and I are business partners. We're best friends in the world. He's a massive supporter of Trump. I don't support any politicians the way that he supports Trump. But when we talk about the actions, a good portion of the actions that Trump has done has been very conservative, on line with what other conservatives would have done. But there's more to Trump than just the business end of it. And that's what gets all of the play for the world. And a lot of that's the media, because Trump is fun to cover. Like if you watch sports, Rex Ryan, the ex-football coach, he's great to cover. He's an okay coach, but he's great. He's going to give you a soundbite. He's fun. If you watch Bill Belichick or Greg Popovich, awful to cover. They're never going to give you anything, but their actions speak for themselves.
I did not vote for Donald Trump in 2016 for the simple reason that I think he made clear during the campaign that he was not prepared to support, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States of America. I did vote for a third party in 2016, and my politics would tell me that both of the parties are broken and would very much want to vote for a third party. But this time, it's just too important for Donald Trump to not get another 4 years. So this year, I plan to vote for Joe Biden.
And you're getting a lot of that. You're getting a lot of people that's what they're saying. And for Trump, his base, they're not going anywhere. Stays steady about 38%. For Biden, it's all over the place. But that independent voter, the voter that wanted to give Trump a chance, that did give Trump a chance, they're not sold on everything that is conservatism. They can look at the person and say, I don't like that. Even though I like some of the stuff he's done, I also don't like some of the stuff that he's done. And that independent voter can go either way. So it's not just about the actions on the conservative side. And Trump's the potential for him to have a serious wake-up call in the coming weeks and months where he realizes, hey, this thing's getting away from me, and I may not be able to get it back. I may not be able to get this thing back. And then what's that look like? But between now and November, as we all know with Trump, he can pull it out of nowhere. So we'll see. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. We were talking off the air about the Village People because Phil goes, hey, you think they're going to kick the cop out of the Village People because it's not politically correct? And I'm like, well, yeah, maybe. And then I'm like, what about the Native American? Like, are they going to kick him out? And I'm like, was he even Native American? And yes, he was. So he was Native American. He performed as the Indian, Philippe Rose, just for you guys want to know. He's born to a Puerto Rican mother, but he claims to be of Lakota descent. But then he's also said he's been Apache. So at least, but he's also said he's Elizabeth Warren. So I don't even know. That's what I identify as. I'm Elizabeth Warren. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. But if he's none of those things, then he's culturally appropriating. So we have a cop that probably needs to go, and now maybe potential cultural appropriation. They're ruining everything. Just people out there who want to make sure that everybody is identified in the right way. Can't have fun anymore. Can't even enjoy the Village People. And they don't even like Trump. They keep telling Trump, stop using Macho Man in the YMCA. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show, Twitter. Tweet at me, Raycon, best earbuds around when I'm rocking out to the Village People, my Raycons. Actually, yesterday, I did not rock out. It sounds weird. I'm working out hard, and people look at me, and I've got my earbuds in, and you have no idea. Like, I'm usually listening to a book on tape. And yesterday I was listening to a discussion between two large Christian leaders about race in this country. That's what I was rocking out to. It's just amazing. Nice noise isolating fit. The comfort's incredible. And there's no stems, no wires. So when you're doing your video conference call because you're at home, guess what? It rocks because they don't see any dangling wires or stems. They think you're magic. But it is incredible. 6 hours of talk time, seamless Bluetooth pairing. Now's your chance to get some on the cheap. Serious. Normally you pay $150, $200 for something like these. Well under $100 with Raycon, and I'm going to save you 15%. Go to buyraycon.com/Chad. 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 Chad Benson Show.
Take a fake news break. Check out the really important news of the day at our website, ChadBensonShow.com. Once there, click on Chad's free podcast and get real. The Chad Benson Show, where truth and the American way live. Print free.
They've asked, they being the Village People, to Trump, stop playing our music at your events. I don't know because I think you licensed those things. So they may have licensed, Trump and his campaign may have licensed those things, 6 years ago, 5 years ago, and may still have that license and pay for it. And there's not a lot you can do. We've paid for it. We have paid for it. I don't know if that's true or not, if he just plays it. So, because in many cases, like you listen to radio, everybody pays for those things. So when a campaign will go out, a lot of times, on the Democratic side, they can ask anybody for anything, pretty much, and they're going to get it. They don't have to worry, oh, yeah, go ahead. But for some, they have to license some of those. It's about your work, man. You got to get paid. Gots to get paid. And we're saying they're going to kick the cop out. You think, oh, that's a joke. Jokingly, I say that. But think about this for a second. Yesterday, Cops, 33 years on the air, they were getting ready to have their debut for the new season on Paramount Network was going to be tomorrow. They canceled it. Then you've got Live PD, and they did not play last week's episode, probably won't go live again this week, but they said they're reevaluating whether or not they're going to keep that. And then
Season 2 of LA's Finest, starring Jessica Alba and Gabrielle Union as LAPD detectives, was supposed to premiere Monday.
Widespread violence has the city on edge.
3 episodes of the cop drama were scheduled to hit Spectrum's on-demand service, but that's not happening. The show pushed to sometime later this year. Why the last-minute change? Spectrum isn't saying officially, but given all the protests against police brutality over the past 2 weeks, it's likely Spectrum felt now wasn't the time for new episodes of a show focused on police officers.
Is that, it's like, I know it's overreaction. We do that in this country. Not all cops are bad, right? There are some good cops out there. I would say a majority of them are doing everything they can. Is this where we're going now? It's like all cops are bad. We're going to take everything off. I think for a while you're going to see that. You're going to see that essentially anything that has to do with police is either being delayed or canceled. And that is probably going to happen for the foreseeable future, which is silly. I find that to be a little bit ridiculous. But welcome to the world of this is what you do now. And I joke about the cop and the village people, but would you be surprised, honestly, if you woke up tomorrow and the village people say, we've decided to go with so many other things that we're going to retire the cop. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Here's your Twitter. It's Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
It's about time in terms of your exposure. We think more than 15 minutes. It's about space. How far apart are you from people around you? 6 feet better than 1 foot. How many people are in the area? How densely populated or crowded your environment is? And the place, are you inside or outside? Yes, we think outdoors is safer, but these 4 factors really point to the increased risk.
We're going back out. Numbers are spiking across the country. We're emerging from our brumination or hibernation. We're getting back out there. Numbers are spiking. The last 2 weeks, the focus on George Floyd, his death, the protest, didn't change the fact that the coronavirus hasn't gone anywhere. And the thought of it being seasonal seems to have passed. And now we're starting to come to grips that this thing is going to be here and may just continually be here. Pandemic, global. Epidemic, regional. Endemic, always here. HIV is endemic. It's not gone anywhere. It's not a season for it. We don't have therapeutics for it as far as the coronavirus, and we don't have a vaccine. Those therapeutic, I think we've got things that we're trying that seem to work. And a vaccine, we're still probably 6 months at best to a year away for that. All of that being said, we have to get out there and we have to start rebuilding. That's a tough thing when you're worried about, could there be a second shutdown? Could there be a second shutdown? Is that a possibility?
If we continue at a rate like this, we're facing a significant chance that we're going to have to shut down the state again.
That's scary. It's a doctor talking about shutting down states again. On the other side of it, you look around and you say, okay, we're reopening. How do we do it in such a way that is smart, understanding there's risk, finding out who the people that are at most risk, which are people that are genuinely at most risk. Unhealthy people, people in their, we talk about 65, but the reality is it's 70, 80 people who have underlying health conditions. The average person, while there's a risk, it is minuscule compared to other people. The elderly, people who are in assisted living facilities for whatever reason, they had a stroke, they were in a car accident. So those people are at tremendous risk. So protecting them becomes utmost. The rest of us need to do what we can to social distance, but we also need to be able to live our life.
You still should be wearing a mask. You still should be trying as best as possible to have that physical distancing. You still need to wash your hands as often as you possibly can and avoid congregation in large numbers.
Kind of smart things. Like I avoid large numbers. I do. People always ask me, you worked in radio a long time. You see a lot of good concerts? I say, yeah. When's the last time we went to concerts? I couldn't tell you. I don't go. I don't like parking. I don't want to fight with people. I don't want to do any of that stuff. I don't want to wait in line anywhere. I'm like, get off my lawn. I was like that as a kid, too. Like, as a kid, I hated crowds. I want to, like when I go to the movies, even if I'm by myself in a movie, it's a late night movie. It's one of my cheesy horror movies where it's going to be like me and 5 other people because it opens up on a Friday, but they do one of those late night Thursday night showings. I'll go to that. I'll sit on the aisle. It's not my thing. So I social distance by nature, but a lot of people don't. We do need human interaction. I just have a smaller circle. We can do the best that we can to social distance, but the reality is there's still always going to be a risk with something like this. And as a nation and as governors reemerge and try to figure out how to do this, what are the risk factors and what are they willing to say, look, this is what we need to do. We need to be mature about this. We need to be smart about this. Wear a mask whenever possible in situations. Like, don't wear one in the car if you're by yourself or with your family, for God's sakes. Come on. But other situations, do as much as you can to wash your hands, not touch your face, wear a mask, and, don't be an idiot. And if you're over 65 or you have underlying health conditions, you need to bunker in place, and we need to start setting up special. The way I would look at it, and the way because I'm waiting here with the spike that we've had in Arizona. Okay, when's the governor going to come out? He usually does it on Thursday. But last night on MSNBC and CNN, he was they're looking at him because here in Arizona, we've gone up the most. And his plan has been, and it's choosing some of these numbers. But if you're going to have a plan, come out and say, look, this is what we're doing. We're going to mitigate the risk as much as we possibly can for the elderly and the medically fragile. We're going to do what we can to get the resources around them and to make sure that the people that are working with them are limited in exposure. And the rest of us, healthy, under 65, understand there's some risk, but you're going to have to get out and live your life. I think most people go, okay, that sounds fair. Like, that didn't sound insane. But not doing anything, not saying anything, not laying out real concrete plans, it frustrates people across the country.
Everyone wants to approach normality and get things back to normal, including the economy. But that doesn't mean that all bets are off.
Translation, we might see people shut it down again. And I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what that would look like if we start shutting down the economy again. I couldn't tell you. I wouldn't know how ugly that is. Dr. Fauci's like, all bets aren't off. We've lost 40 million jobs. Some of them are coming back. It's not as bad as some people thought it would be. It's also not what the jobs report ended up messing up and being. We're somewhere in the middle. But it will get as bad as people think if we shut down again. And a good portion of small and medium-sized businesses will cease to exist. Some because they can't hang on. Others because they say, you know what? I'll live to fight another day. I'll shut this down. When and if we get back to normal anytime soon, I'll think about reopening. But that is going to take a long time to climb out of. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at me, George Floyd's brother, today.
George Floyd's brother is getting set to testify on Capitol Hill today in a House hearing on police brutality. He will be one of the witnesses in the House's first hearings on policing. It's unclear if he will give his testimony in person or virtually given the coronavirus pandemic. But the hearing follows House and Senate Democrats' introduction of police reform legislation. Andrew Dimbert, ABC News, Washington.
Here's the thing with that. I think it's a very interesting thing that he's doing this. I think we need to have a talk about policing in this country, not just for the bridge between the what we see in the minority communities and how they feel about police, as well as the police themselves and how they're viewed. I think a reimagining of the police force, a modernization of policing in America, as well as a building up of underserved and for all intents and purposes, pretty much forgotten communities, is a great idea. When politics gets involved and insanity gets involved, which usually equals, I think if you look up the Latin word for politics is insane, you're going to start to see the mess that comes, right? Like people who are pro everything when it comes to law and order, they're like, law and order, we need more police. No, we need better policing. We need modern policing because it protects them and it protects society. It's not about being softer. It's about being harder and tougher when you need to be, but getting to the point where that doesn't have to happen as much. And it's going to take a while. But when you start getting people involved in certain ways and everybody starts throwing their politics into it in certain ways because they want to look good and they want the photo op and they want the soundbite, then it goes south. And what you get out of it is a mixed bag of, and that doesn't help anybody. Camden, New Jersey, did this several years ago where they reimagined the policing. They didn't defund, and that word is, the Democrats have messed it up and they've allowed people to hijack it, because it makes it sound like they're taking all the money away and they're getting rid of cops, and that's not it. Taking it and putting it in underserved areas as well as modernizing the police force is a smart thing, because while it will take a while to see the true fruits of the labor, the reality is over time it's going to better so many communities and situations. And if you look at Camden and what they've done, it's really awesome. They went from the highest murder rate in the country, that on par with El Salvador, that's how bad it was in Camden, New Jersey, to extremely low murder rate. Violent crimes down tremendously. And reports of violence as far as police brutality and community has gone down 95%. So you've got to ask yourself, can we do something like that? Yeah. Doesn't mean cops don't be hard when you have to, right? Like remember Roadhouse? Be nice. When do you be nice? Then what? Well, you be nice until you no longer be nice. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show, Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program as well. Lightstream wants to help you, and so do I. Save money. You're paying way too much on those credit cards. 19% APR. What are you doing? Stop it. Consolidate all those high-interest credit card payments into one manageable, low payment. Get a credit card consolidation loan from Lightstream. You could save big, thousands in interest. Get a rate as low as 5.95% APR with auto pay and good credit. 100% done online. Absolutely no fees, and the rate is never going to budge. Saving big, that's amazing. Manageable, comfortable, take the pressure off. That's what Lightstream's all about. Plus Apply today and get a special interest rate discount by going to lightstream.com/Benson, lightstream.com/Benson. Subject to credit approval. Rate includes 0.50% auto pay discount. Terms and conditions apply. Offers subject to change without notice. Visit lightstream.com/Benson for more information. Chad Benson Show.
If you're part of the politically exhausted majority, don't fear. Your time to be validated and rejuvenated is here. Wake up. It's the Chad Benson Show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? Let's take a look, see what's trending around the globe of the United States of America. George P. Bush endorsed Donald Trump. He's Jeb's kid. That's trending. Martin, I think his name's Gugino. He is the 75-year-old protester, activist who was pushed over in Buffalo. And Trump, of course, tweeted out about him being some sort of, I don't know, Antifa member. I don't know if that's really their wheelhouse. Like, I know he's into that, politics. He's a climate change activist and stuff like that. I just don't feel that that's like the age group. They're like, what we really need is a 75-year-old guy. That's it. Bill and Ted Face the Music Most Excellent Trailer. Stacey Schroeder and Kristen Doughty, they've been fired from Vanderpump Rules because apparently they called the police and accused one of the women on the show, who happens to be a person of color, of something, and they've had inflammatory tweets. It's craziness. Gone with the Wind. We'll talk about that in a little bit and why they're trending, but they're picking up steam. Picking up steam, you say, Chad? Yeah. Head on over to Twitter, where everybody's just full of hate. All they're ever full of anymore. PS5 is trending because that's the future of gaming. Big time. 4 British neo-Nazis have been jailed on terrorism charges. Apparently there was going to be a Miss Hitler contest. Because that sounds like a good idea. Clowns. Just absolutely a bunch of clowns. Whatever. It's just horrible. What are you doing, dumbasses? Just awful. I just sit there and I think, what are you thinking? Like, it's just, again, I don't understand. And I think that's part of the problem for some people is they just don't get, hate. First of all, I don't like doing things that, hate to me is just, it's like a foreign thing. Like, I hate broccoli. Understand broccoli? But I don't, me as a white guy, I'm just saying this as a white dude. I just don't, I don't see how you could hate another person based on, really anything. Your religion, I've never got that. And hate's there's energy in that. It's like when I see people who, whether they're neo-Nazis or people who hate Trump or whatever it is, I'm like, man, that's a lot of energy for things that you shouldn't give that much time to. Focus it on the positive. Why do you have to see people in certain ways? But the color of the skin or the religion or who they love, I've never gotten that. And that's why I think for a lot of people that it's very foreign to even understand how somebody could be that way. Because we all think, well, everybody's like us. No, everybody's not. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show, Twitter. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Cancel!
Where shall I go? What shall I do?
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
That's what HBO is pulling from HBO Max. It's removed it. So they got the catalog. They got this thing. Everybody's rolling out, right? You got Peacock coming soon. You got all the other stuff, Hulu, Netflix. HBO Max pulled Gone with the Wind. Many people consider it it's definitely top 5. Some say number 1. Others argue about that movie of all time. But they say it romanticizes the Civil War era South while glossing over its racial sins. They said they want to eventually bring it back with a discussion of its historical context. And at the same time, they denounce the missteps. Won a ton of Academy Awards. Best Picture, Best Supporting Actress, Hattie McDaniel, the first African-American, by the way, to win an Oscar. But they are pulling it. Much like... Here, this is the way, and I'm explaining this, and people get pissed about this. Stop removing statues. Instead, erect other statues next to them to talk about what these generals and what these people did, what they were fighting for, and what others were fighting for. Put it into context where there's another side to it. Let's stop erasing history. We've seen this PC culture even before this, doing things like getting rid of, rewriting Huck Finn and taking... At some point, you've got to say, hold on a second, this is art. Enough. This is what it was. We should have historical context. I'm fine with that. Talk about it. But getting rid of it is ridiculous. It is asinine. You're not changing anything. Put in context what it was, what the South was fighting for. Put in context other plaques and statues that tell the other side. It's not about celebrating them. Talk about the atrocities. Talk about what they were fighting for. Talk about those things. Talk about the people that fought against them, what they were fighting for, what they wanted, what they envisioned. But just yanking it and saying we're not going to do it, it's what next? Are we going to go back and say, you know what, we've rethought everything, and Hattie McDaniel gets to keep her award, but we're going to take the rest of awards away from them? Are we going to do those things now? Is like that? I just feel like at some point in time you have to say, no, let's talk about things. Let's have a discussion. But we can't. This country at this moment in time, but this was long even before George Floyd, having discussions about anything in a world of cancel culture is ridiculous. You can't do it. You can't. Came across this yesterday. I thought it was interesting. It has a bunch of black leaders, African-American actors and actresses and influencers talking about, hey, white people, your silence is deafening.
I think fear drives everything or prevents everything. People are afraid of saying the wrong thing. People are afraid of how they're going to appear. People are afraid of their lack of knowledge. And people are afraid of the unknown.
Their fear, though, for like white people is a perfect example. We need to be part of the solution, right? We do. We need to be part of the solution. We've benefited from a lot of things. We need to be part of a solution. And you may not have thought, well, how have I benefited? Trust us, we've all benefited. You may not have felt it. It may have been subtle. At the same time, what do we do? Because, yeah, there are people who are afraid. I've got friends in this business that are like, I want to help, but somebody's going to say you didn't do it right? Somebody's going to say you did too much. Somebody's going to say you're not enough. Somebody's going to say, sorry, the way you did it was wrong, so much so that we need to get rid of you. We need to talk about it. But how do we do it? And it's an individual thing. For me, I've got a platform. I want change. I want change. It's got to be organic. It's got to be real. It's got to be not out of fear or political correctness. It's got to be because this is what you want. For me, I want change. But I also realize that I can sit in a room with, I've asked Black Lives Matter to come on my show. I want to talk to them. I've asked leaders to come on my show here, both locally and nationally, in the black community. I want to have a real honest conversation, and I want to hear what they have to say. And here's the other thing. I don't take things personal. If you see the hate mail I get just for talking about this, I can guarantee you I'm going to go all kinds of stuff. You're a sellout. You're a liberal freak. You're blah, 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 blah. It's just, it's amazing. And I don't care about it because I don't take it personal. I don't know you. I don't care what you think of me. Go back in your trailer and shut up. Or we're going to tow it somewhere else and not tell you where we towed it. Such a jerk, Chad. Can be. But I want change, and I want to talk about it. And I could be open and honest about stuff. But I want to be able to have a conversation. I think a lot of people do. But they don't know what to do. And yeah, there's a fear factor out there because we live in a world now where one misstep can cost you everything. One misstep can cost you a ton of stuff in your life. And it could be, as I said 1,000 things, and 999 were perfect, and one wasn't bad, but it just wasn't perfect. And because of that, you got to pay the ultimate price. That's tough. If people are living in fear, even though they want to be a part of something, that's not a good thing. How do you get past that? We need to.
This is something that I've talked at great lengths about with my husband because I am watching. I'm watching who speaks out. And I'm not saying that you have to speak out and have this, this whole spiel of Black Lives Matter. I'm not even necessarily saying I need you to post, but at the bare minimum, a friend would reach out to another friend. How are you doing during this time? I'll admit that I've been silent. I'll admit that I've ignored some of the issues that you face as a Black person, but I want you to know that I'm your friend and I see you and I hear you. I am paying attention to friends that aren't doing that.
Yeah. I get it. Right? I mean, think about this. If your friend's mom dies or has cancer or something like that, you'd reach out to him. But you've got a friend who's Black, seeing what's going on in the country. And for some people, it's kind of like they may want to, but they're like, is it awkward? Am I doing it right? Like, what is it you want? Well, I just tell everybody, just do what you think is right. And for posting stuff and doing certain things, I've seen a lot of these businesses and these companies, they overdo it. A lot of people who overdo it. It feels forced. It needs to be organic, but it needs to start with white people. We got to be involved. Having a conversation, right? Having a conversation. And I don't think we do that enough. And I understand the fear out there because people want to help. People always don't know how to help. Well, I don't want to get involved because it's going to make it feel awkward. Or they're going to not, it's not about being the white savior. It's about being a part of something. It's not about saying, I'm your ally. It's not, I'm your friend. What do you need? I'm here for you. I can't understand what you're going through, but I'm here for you. We're not having conversations. And some of that is out of fear. Some of that's out of, I just don't know what to do. But we need to have a serious conversation. And the thing starts with you and I having conversations with leaders, people in the street, just individuals. And when we're having those conversations And when it gets to the point where we start to have serious conversations about this in a much bigger setting, the first thing you need to do is it's not personal. And it's tough because we all take everything personal nowadays. It's not personal.
One has to ask whether there isn't a certain amount of willful blindness that comes into play at certain times. When you're talking about persistent white silence in the face of so many invitations to speak.
Is that true? I think some of it's true. I also think sometimes people just get caught up in their own lives, right? I think we forget that too. We think there's a systematic, everybody wants to be silenced. I think for some of it is they don't know what to say, right? Because they don't want to come across as, well, as over-trying and insincere. And sometimes just in the day-to-day world, not talking about what happened to George Floyd and how it's on top of everybody's mind, just, people get sucked up into their own thing. They do. And that's everything. Like, they can't see outside of their own world. And that's why I always joke about the fact is when people say the world doesn't revolve around you, no, but your world revolves around you. And sometimes you never leave your world. But we do need to speak up. We do need to have a conversation. But we have to do it in such a way where when we start talking, we make it about finding a solution and not about the person being everything you're saying is an affront to me. I feel like you're attacking me. No, it's about finding a solution. And it will be uncomfortable at times. But if we can't have an open and honest conversation, which is all too much happens in the world of politics, is we no longer have an open and honest conversation because everybody takes it personal. So we beat around the bush. We have all these things that we say that sound great, but we never dig down deep into what it actually is to solve the problem. And then we're right back in the same place later on. But everybody's patted themselves on the back because they felt like they've done the right thing, said the right thing, but the actions, they fail. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Fed my lizards last night, as I do. But I also fed my dog Doodle. My dog Doodle is awesome. I always joke about my dog Doodle. People ask me all the time, is your dog really named Doodle? Yes. Doodle von Doodlestein. It's this little tweener dog we rescued. Bad hips. Good hips now, thanks to Rough Greens. He only likes dry food. Rough Greens is awesome. We sprinkle Rough Greens on his dry food. He eats it up, and it has changed everything. By the way, that dry food, that stuff's meant to live on shelves for years. There's nothing living in it. What does Rough Greens have? Here's a few things. 25 all-natural vitamins, minerals, 20 digestive enzymes, probiotics, omega-3, 6, 9, antioxidants, just to name a few. It brings the food to life, and it helps. If your dog has any issues, get yourself Rough Greens. It's $14.95. It is a 14-day jumpstart, right? Simple, cheap, easy. Hey, your dog can't do it, so you got to do it for them. But you see, Rough Greens, you'll see a difference. They can reduce and even completely eliminate your dog's symptoms. Call them, 833-MyDog88, or go to roughgreens.com/Chad. That's RUFFgreens.com/Chad, or call 833-MyDog88. Rough Greens. We make any pet food better. Chad Benson Show.
Don't let the Washington Beltway strangle you. This is where the exhausted majority comes to refuel, realign, and reevaluate. This is Chad Benson.
The PGA Tour stayed in constant communication through our player advisory council and so on and so forth, seeping down from the board to figure out, how comfortable everybody was to get started, and then by what measures need to be taken in order to make everybody feel comfortable, but also like it wasn't interfering with the competition. So I think we landed on a pretty solid plan. So this is going to be week one, and I think people are excited for sports in general to come back, and I think we're pretty excited that golf's one of the first ones to do so.
Yeah, golf is the first one here. Like, UFC's gone on. I never thought golf should have taken off as long as it did. Golf is one of those things where you didn't really need the fans. It's not going to change it too much. social distancing by nature. And here's the other thing. Golf clubs and golf courses across America didn't shut down. And this is the other thing. They were out there playing every day because I follow them on TikTok and Instagram, and they're all out there playing every single day with each other. So this will be cool. So we got golf this weekend. Will it be a little different? I think a little different. But at the end of the day, like Jordan Spieth said, this is what it is, and there's no fans, so we'll just have to deal with the fact there's no fans.
I'm kind of excited, to be honest, just to see what it's like for a couple weeks, and then hopefully we're able to, hopefully things start to clear up and we're able to get fans back as soon as possible.
So it'll be fun, but we finally have something to look forward to. On the other side of things, Major League Baseball is just an absolute nightmare. And can we just be honest about that? Golf wants back. Football's gearing up to get back. The NBA, NHL, they've got their plans in place. They're just getting the NHL is a little different than the NBA because a good portion of the NHL players are scattered around the globe. The NBA has a few, but a lot of NHL players are in Europe. So getting them back was one of those things. And finding out how they're going to do it because they're going to have a few different scenarios. The NBA knows what they want to do. It's not about money at this point. It's just about getting out there, finishing out the season, and seeing who wins. Baseball's like, yeah, we don't care.
I've spoken with a number of players who I'm going to call moderates. These are players who don't necessarily believe in the idea of holding out for the full prorated salary. And they have said to a man that they believe that this is a position that they, one person called it a hill that they will die on. And if they die on that hill at 48 games, that means we're going to have a 48-game season as implemented by Major League Baseball. There's going to be a grievance by the Players Association for the league not playing its fullest season. And all of the labor animus that we've seen is only going to continue, not just in this offseason, Scott, but going forward when the collective bargaining agreement expires in 2021.
Which is not going to be good. We're facing a situation where we may not have baseball if they don't come back now, and then they go into it next year. We could have baseball not until 2022, and at that point, I'm sorry, your ship has sailed. Here's the other thing. The commissioner can do something. He can force them to play. He can actually force them to take it and play. So now they're looking at a 48-game season, which is still 48 games too much. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Baseball missed the golden opportunity. And at this point in time, nobody cares. People get excited about basketball. Football's not too far around the corner. Worried a little bit about college football. But you missed your opportunity, baseball. You blew it. That's why my 10-year-old hates baseball. It's boring. And you had the opportunity to have everybody paying attention, and instead, Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
I'm tired of pain. Pain you feel when you watch something like that. When you watch your big brother, who you looked up to for your whole life, die begging for his mom.
That right there is George Floyd's brother speaking today. Speaking today on the Hill about the death of his brother. It's interesting, you know. I mean, think about, just for a second, how all of this happened and how a moment in time, 8 minutes and 42 seconds, transform and transfix a nation on a problem that's been here, has got the global world stepping back from the coronavirus, looking to America and what happened to a gentleman by the name of George Floyd, and how they're looking there. By the way, Europe and other parts of the globe are re-examining their issues. A lot of people, oh, look at America, how bad it is. Trust me. Go to Europe, spend any time there, not just like go to a little vacation spot. Spend any real time there. You'll find out. For whatever you think we are, they got real issues there that are far more prevalent, but it's easy to point at America. We got issues. We need to deal with them. We need to talk about them. But think about, just for a moment, put yourself in a position where 3-4 weeks ago, a family member of yours is killed or dies from something. The world gets transfixed on you and your family. It starts a movement for change. And within 20 days, you're just doing your job. And 20 days from now, 21 days from now, you're flown out to D.C. to speak on the Hill. Change can happen. We need reform. Well, what do you mean we need reform? No, we need real reform. Right? That's what I'm talking about. You can't, and this is the all or nothing world that we live in, right? Like, we've gotten to this point where there's very few people who are independent thinking, and because everybody takes things personal, they all feel they need to be on a team, right? I got to be on a team. I can look at every issue individually and say, let's talk about it, right? Can we improve something? Policing needs to be improved. It does. It needs to be more modern. It needs to be safer and better for the police. And we need to look at the way that we are policing in certain communities. But we also need to look at the way that we're asking police officers who are not. I saw somebody yesterday, the guy's police captain right now and chief in Camden, New Jersey, saying, look, we're asking officers to be RoboCops and to be perfect. They're not. They're going to make mistakes. Even the best of them are going to make mistakes. But we're asking them to be more than police officers, peace officers. We're asking them to fix a lot of what's broken in society. And that's insane. We need reform, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's not about, oh, we need reform and we've got to get rid of it. The insanity of, like, we're going to get rid of all police. You're an idiot if you think that. You're an idiot if that's what you think is going to happen, and somehow magically people are going to go on the honor system and you're not going to have people take advantage of it. It's not going to happen. Reforming doesn't mean disbanding. Reforming means, hey, how can we move forward, become more modern? Let's modernize in conjunction with taking care of underserved communities. How do we do that? Think of underserved communities. Think of us as a body. You take care of your body when you're younger, your body will take care of you when you get older. You abuse and ignore certain things, guess what happens? You pay the price later. And we're paying the price for underserved communities, in particular communities of color, with no hope, poor schools, broken family, a system that, hey, I'll say it, Democrats, you've had 60 years. Republicans, you abandoned. Democrats just came over and said, we'll take the vote, we'll lie to them, and we'll do very little. But we got a lot of lip service. Stop the fear factor of saying, well, we need to reform. Reform? That means we're going to get rid. No. The defunding thing is stupid. Stop saying that. That's horrible. You're not even, let's move money into certain areas, which will benefit us long term. Let's put money in the right areas in the policing world that helps not only the community, but also police. to try to make their job easier and better and help them focus on the things they should be focusing on, which is real bad guys and girls. I don't want to leave them out, right? We want everybody to feel inclusive here. You've got the likes of Nadler.
Every day, African Americans and other people of color live in fear of harassment and violence at the hands of some law enforcement officers. This is their reality.
And again, it's their reality. Is it true? Systematically, it's been shown in a lot of ways, yeah. And it's not the dying at the hands of an officer. I think that's a lot of what it is. It's we pay attention to the big, but it's the everyday systematic little thing here, little thing there. Being pulled over. Being followed in a store. Having the Karens of the world to call you. Call the police on you. Little things like that you're like, okay, I don't get it, but now I'm starting to understand. I don't get it being in that position because I'm not black, but I'm starting to understand, yeah, over time that adds up. But it's not just the Democrats that are talking about this. Even Republicans, Jim Jordan.
The American people understand it's time for a real discussion, real debate, real solutions about police treatment of African Americans.
Yeah, it's time. And we can have that discussion. It's not all or nothing, and it's not going to be perfect. I think the problem is everybody wants perfection, and you're not going to get that. But can we have progress? 100%. Can we move forward in such a way that we start to see real progress? And that progress can be semi-immediate in the way that we start to see policing done, but it also is going to take time. Because to go into the inner city and start to rebuild these communities that have been destroyed for several reasons. Systematic, the breakdown of the family. I mean, there's so many different reasons. That's going to take time. But if we start to get to it now, the future looks a lot better. And it's like that, like I was just saying. It's like your body. You start taking care of it now. Start eating better, working out a little bit more, not ignoring some of the little pains here and there. Guess what ends up happening? Later on down the road, it's a lot easier to do stuff, a lot less pain, and it'll take care of you as much as you take care of it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. All of that going on. We still have the coronavirus. It's still out there. It's not going anywhere.
It's about time in terms of your exposure. We think more than 15 minutes. It's about space. How far apart are you from people around you? 6 feet better than 1 foot. How many people are in the area? How densely populated or crowded your environment is? And the place, are you inside or outside? Yes, we think outdoors is safer, but these 4 factors really point to the increased risk.
I was talking to Dr. Will Humble, who is out here. He runs everything. Used to be like the Dr. Fauci of Arizona. And we were chatting about this the other day. And he says, look, you're 17 more times likely to catch it indoors as you are outdoors. That's okay. So we're seeing the factors of what this is. We know that you're going to eliminate a good portion, like 80% of potential of catching it by not touching your face and washing your hands. Wearing a mask, does it help? Potentially. Does it hurt? No. But you get mixed signals there. And there's things we can do to mitigate this, but the reality is it's not going anywhere. And we have to now realize that as we reopen, we're going to see spikes. There may be even some trouble places. Maybe some states want to shut down again. But governors need to come out and say, there's going to be some risk. Inherently, there's risk, but there's a little bit more risk here. We're going to have to take care of the people that we know this could potentially kill fast and spread, i.e. nursing facilities is one, assisted living facilities is 2, people who have underlying health conditions. you're going to have to shelter in place, and we're going to have to put around you people that we can find that will do the things you need necessary to whatever it is, whether it's nurses, doctors, and we're going to have to close ranks, if you will, and make sure that those people are protected. But the rest of us may just have to accept the fact that we're going to have to live with this and get on with our lives, because we can't stand being indoors. We can't stand being broke. We got to take some risks. And I think this is what we're having to face now. And I know people don't want to say, oh, that sounds like you're sacrificing people. No, it's just the reality of it. Because at the end of this, if we shut down again and we're at 40 or 50% unemployment, what that looks like over a year and then over 5 years and then over a decade, untold damage that is insane. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Gabby.com/Benson. Apples to apples. Quotes they're going to give you on your homeowners and your car insurance. It takes 2 minutes, absolutely free. Right? You put your information in. They're going to give you quotes on the exact same coverage. For me, my homeowners insurance, perfect. The price, I was like, okay, cool. I'm not saving anything and I'm not overpaying. It's perfect. Car insurance was like $1,000. $825 a year on average is what people pay. I save with Gabby. It does not cost you a penny. It's 2 minutes. Progressive, nationwide, Travelers. They're going to give you comparisons on all of them. And that way, at least you know, hey, I'm saving. I'm not saving any money. I'm not losing any money. I'm perfect. Or maybe you go, oh, my God, I could save a ton of money with Gabby. Do it now. It's free. Takes 2 minutes. Go to Gabby.com/Benson, GABI.com/Benson. Find out how much you can save on your homeowners and car insurance. Gabby.com/Benson. Chad Benson Show.
No fake outrage here, just the real thing. The Chad Benson Show.
Police in rural Rexburg, Idaho are confirming now Chad Daybell has been taken into custody. The FBI helping to execute a search warrant at a home owned by Daybell. He married Lori Vallow after her 2 children were reported missing. Police confirming there are possible human remains on the property. For 7 months, police have been looking for the children, Joshua and Tylee.
So let's go back. Pre-coronavirus, just as it's starting, people are starting to pay attention to this story. So you've got a woman named Lori Vallow who's married to a guy named Chad Daybell. Now, Lori Vallow's husband, before Chad, was shot and killed by her brother, who then subsequently died weeks later. Chad Daybell's wife died under mysterious causes in October of last year, and then within weeks, he marries her. They're both into the doomsday world. So it's totally wacky, right? Like all of this stuff. So you've got all this craziness, murder, death. I mean, it's whoa. Then they get married and disappear, and then they find them because the kids are gone, right? You've got a 17-year-old girl and a young boy, and he's I think he has autism. They disappear, and those two are in Hawaii. And they're with friends. They all the stories change, and finally they take her into custody, but he was out. Then yesterday, digging up, guess what? They did find human remains out there.
And detectives have recovered what's believed to be human remains that are not identified at this time.
Yeah. So, is it them? It's the cult or whatever it is that they were involved with is very doomsday. It's very just, you could see everybody who has known them pre-insanity, if you will, or craziness of this cult thing to now, said that you started to see them slip into this world's coming to an end and you got to get ready. And supposedly mid-July is when their group believes that the world's coming to an end. So when August gets here, wow, you think it's going to sink in that maybe, uh-oh, I think they're looking into how his wife died. I mean, just weird. Like, they were saying, they were going around to their friends saying, hey, if the cops come, tell them that, say, we've got the kids. And they were telling the people, and the other people like, we're not telling the cops we've got your kids. Like, that's the first thing. If they came to me and they say, hey, if the cops come around, you say you've got our kids. I'd be like, yeah, that sounds great. And then I go inside and call the police and go, yeah, I think something's going on with these people's kids because they've disappeared and they're telling me to lie. So, what a tangled web we weave. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program as well. Love hearing from you. Your love, your hate, your anger. We'll talk about sarcasm. Straight ahead, Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Hope is here. And I've seen it played out in our cities. I've seen it play out with neighbors banding together to help clean up around their shop areas, to look out after one another. But I've seen it with the spirit and the character of the men and women on this department who continue to keep showing up.
That's Chief Ariando, Minneapolis Chief. Yeah, I think hope is here. I think it's time for true, honest discussions. It's time for moving forward and how we have modernization of police force, figuring how they work in conjunction with other parts of the community, bringing in outside people to help the police not have to police the social downfallings, meaning homelessness and I mean, because cops, they're referees now for the breakdown of society, and that's not what they should be. We want our cops to do what? We want them to patrol, catch the bad guy or bad gal. Again, don't want to leave anybody out. I'm all inclusive. And that's what we want. I want to keep the bad, dangerous people in longer. I don't want incarceration nation. And I want to see hopes in the inner city. And that starts with us, myself included, getting out and really starting to give in such a way where we're, for me, it's about mentoring. What can I do to pass on? How'd you get here? Let me tell you what I did. I busted my butt, worked my ass off, sacrificed, but I got good opportunities. I got breaks. Some of those I made. Some of those, I was fortunate enough to know people. And some people took chances on me. But to mentor, to do what I can. But it's about changing. And people talk about the culture. To me, it's about a modernization of a culture. Not just the police culture, but our culture. The older generation who has stinking thinking, if you will. Not everybody, but a lot of people. They've got closed hearts and their biases and they're fearful. They live in fear. There's a lot of people out there that live in fear. Well, what are you afraid of? They're afraid of a lot of things. They're afraid of that change. Ugh. I'm a very rigid person when it comes to what I do. Like I said, park in the same place pretty much every single day. I get here between a certain hour and a certain hour, and I leave exactly, and I know when I leave. I know to the moment when I'm going to get home. I like the shows that I like. I like the food that I like. I work out pretty much at the same time. I've got the pattern down. When it comes to other things, issues, life, growing, stuff like that, let's go for it. Let's try something new. I like structure and then chaos. I'm good with those things. But we need to change it from defunding to modernization. Reallocating. Because that's also going to help the police force. Knowing that they're going to be in a situation where, hey, guess what? Not only are people, we're working with them and we're a partner in this, but we're also getting to the point where it's making our jobs easier and less dangerous. And that's a good thing. That is. And one of the cities that they've talked about is Camden. And Camden changed big time when they decided not to defund and cut, and they'll say those, but just the reallocation and a different way of looking at things.
Camden, New Jersey was considered one of the deadliest cities in America for years. They disbanded their entire police department in 2013 and rebuilt it from the ground up and saw improved community relations and a dramatic drop in violent crime.
Yeah, a dramatic drop. But also the drop that took place with that crime and the way that it happened, how the violent crime went down, the murder rate went down. So did the cases against the police and brutality. A lot of things changed. It won't be perfect. And that's what the other thing is. We can't expect everything to be perfect. And I think that's the frustrating. So many people want perfection or nothing. I want perfection or nothing. I want perfection or nothing. I want perfection or nothing. So many people do. Can't do that. We've got to come at it in a much different way.
7 years ago, they completely dismantled the troubled police department in Camden, New Jersey, right across the Delaware River from Philadelphia. Retired Chief Scott Thompson says they stopped focusing on the number of tickets they wrote or the arrests they made.
What we were more interested in was making people feel safer, making people trust us, or getting people to trust us.
Lou Capelli heads up the Camden County Board of Freeholders. He says crime has fallen since officers were encouraged to get to know the community instead of just focus on crime.
We view our police officers as guardians, not warriors, and we view them as true partners with the residents.
Jerry Preston, ABC News.
Yeah, and I think when you start doing stuff like that, it's great. Police officers come out and said it's a partnership. I think that's the way we have to look at modernizing. Not looking at it as a defunding. Not looking as we're going to reform, we're throwing everything out. No, there's a lot of great cops out there. There's a lot of good cops out there. There's a lot of people who have good hearts that are cops, but they're not mentally equipped to potentially do that job the way it's being done. Maybe there's a place for them in a more modern world. We still need cops who can crack ass. We still need cops that when the time has come where there's no longer the position where being nice in a certain situation works, well, then that's what they're there for. But the focusing on the tickets, the day-to-day minutia, I've always been a big picture guy. Right? Do you want to be micro or do you want to be macro? You want big picture or small picture? You want to be myopic and like, oh, we're going to this is that. No, those things can take care of themselves. But the bigger picture in something like this is you don't need to write a ticket for everything. You don't need to over-police. You're there to keep the peace, not to be a referee. And I think that's where more cities are going to be headed. And I think it's a good thing. And I'm going to get a lot of pushback from people out there because people can't take a joke. People don't understand what change is and what mod. They think everything is against them, even if it's a joke. We were talking about that before we went to break. Producer Anthony posted something on Facebook. It looks like an Antifa credit card. And Anthony, producer Anthony put it up there, was super sarcasm, but like, you get double rewards points, no fees, double the miles. Just all of this stuff that you would see on a credit card thing, but it was a joke. And people are like, I can't believe this. They're serious. They're answering it as rather than an LOL, that's hilarious. They are taking it serious. And I joked earlier about the Village People, right? So the right attacks the Facebook and takes it serious. And the Village people I joke with and the left are like, they're all over me, like they're mad at me because they should kick out the cop or something like that. You're not taking this serious enough. No, once again, you've lost your funny bone. You've lost nuance. Because look, sarcasm, there's nuance, there's context. But even when, this is my fear. I get that you can lose in translation with a tweet. Even face to face now, people still don't get it. Still can't read the room. Don't understand it. Got to laugh a little bit more. My biggest fear, I thought, when we lose our sense of humor, when sense of humor is eventually just gone, that's when, to me, the downfall will come. Well, Chad, that's happened. Well, the problem is everywhere in the world's like that, so we're all in the same position. Sarcasm, humor, scary. Stop taking everything so serious. That's why when I talk about let's have good conversations, let's have not arguments, not debates, conversations. Let's start planning, listening to each other, conversations. White people talking to you. Stop taking it personal. Stop taking it personal. Black American brothers and sisters, stop. When we want to help, I don't want to be a white savior. I want to be part of a process. We are not going to get it perfect. And so can't hold everything against for not getting it perfect. I mean, I was 2 weeks ago or last week, like Ellen, she came out with an apology, or she came out with her thoughts and prayers kind of video, because that's what you do, right? Like, and then people attacked her for not doing it right. We can't have that. But we've all got to stop taking it personal. But when you look at like the sarcasm we just had on our stupid Facebook page that we put up there about an Antifa credit card, and people don't get that, or the joke about the Village people kicking out the cop and people are attacking you saying you're not taking it serious. That's the kind of thing that says this is why we can't have a real conversation. Because if we got into a room, everybody already comes out with it's going to be a battle. It's going to be an attack. It's going to be a fight. It's going to be personal. Rather than just sitting down and go, let's just chill. Let's talk about stuff. How can we move forward? What do we need to do? Because it can't be one side. It's got to be all of us, right? Like, we're in this together. We can't just have one side row. We're going to go in a circle, and that doesn't work. And we've seen that happen too often. Politics, everywhere. But I think we start with humor. There's a reason when people, if you ever watch somebody who's really good at giving a speech, they're a good storyteller. You know what they are? They've got some humor. And there's a reason that they always tell you to open with an icebreaker. Because what that does with that laughter is bring guard, right, the walls and everything down, and allows people to, all right, cool, get the blood flowing. Let's do it. There's a reason for that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show, your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Face mask, you know what those are, right? They're everywhere. They're going to be here for a long time. Well, according to Fauci and everybody else, they're not going anywhere anytime soon. So what do? Well, you can make some. You can buy some of those cheap plastic ones. But how about this? The 30-day, 30-use face cover from Boomer Naturals. Made with 3 layers of high-quality hypoallergenic materials, 65% cotton, 35% polyester, treated with antibacterial, antiviral protection, and nano silver technology. Lasts on the cloths for up to 30 days. So you wear these cloths for 30 days. At the end of the day, you take them off, wash them with warm water and soap, let them air dry, put them on the next day. They've got children's sizes and adult sizes, and that matters because the wrong fit, well, they don't work then. It doesn't work. Available in all kinds of sizes and colors, and less than 30 cents a day. Use code CHAD20. You're going to save 20%. You're going to get free shipping on all orders over $50. That's code CHAD20 at boomernaturals.com. Take your family's health into your own hands. Order your 30-day use face coverings now. Boomernaturals.com. Boomernaturals.com. Promo code CHAD20. Chad Benson Show.
You go, boy.
This isn't about right or left. This is just about right and wrong.
Right you are, Chad. The Chad Benson Show.
As 75-year-old Martin Gugino remains in the hospital after being shoved to the ground by a Buffalo police officer, President Trump promoted a conspiracy theory about him. He tweeted that Gugino could be an Antifa provocateur and was pushed away after appearing to scan police communications in order to black out equipment. I watched. He fell harder than he was pushed. Was aiming scanner. Could be a setup. The president had been watching a segment on One America News.
He could also be a ninja. Could also be a member of the Nazi Party. He could be anything. He's not a member of Antifa. I'm going to go out on the limb and say that. Doesn't mean he is a Trump supporter, because he's very much a climate activist. Probably leans to the left. But I'm sorry. I know people are like, oh, you should totally... People were sending me this yesterday, and I posted something, and to watch people just lose it over this, like, Chad, you just don't know, like, and they're sending me stuff that you could tell is completely photoshopped, and you're like, wow, you believe this? No, you just don't understand, Chad. It's true. And I'm like, all right, you're right. It's totally whatever. I gotta go. It's like I can't. At this point, what are we talking about? No, I do not believe it. I'm going to say it. I don't think he is an Antifa man. I'm not saying he's uber conservative. And should you and I have been pushed like that, and we had been there, we probably would not have fallen like that. A little bit younger. 75-year-old, it's not the falling on the ground. It's the hitting the head on the back of the sidewalk that does damage. You watch sports like hockey. I love hockey. They'll tell you it's never the hit. It's the back of the helmet hitting the ice. Same thing in the NFL that does the damage. I just couldn't buy into it. Sorry. I know some of you out there, you're all day the Kool-Aid. Not me.
Yeah, I saw the tweet. It was a shocking thing to say, and I won't dignify it with any further comment.
You think the blood coming out of his head was staged? You saw his head hit the pavement. You see blood on the pavement. How reckless, how irresponsible, how mean, how crude. I mean, if there was ever a reprehensible, dumb comment, and from the President of the United States.
I just thought, I thought it was ridiculous. And I know Trump loves a conspiracy, right? Like, he digs a conspiracy, but this just, to me, was ridiculous. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. You can text the program as well. Do love hearing from every single one of you. Simpsons has a message for the graduation class of 2020.
We're the Simpsons, and we have a special message for the class of 2020. The air is cleaner than ever.
And drinking at home at 10 in the morning is not only acceptable, it's called coping.
And not having friends over is seen as a healthy choice instead of basic unpopularity.
And as graduates, you have a world of possibilities. You can go from living in your parents' basement to working from your parents' basement.
Another good thing, people are eating less meat, and animal shelters have found homes for all their pets.
Which is not connected to the lack of meat, I'm pretty sure. So in conclusion, I'd just like to say, love your neighbor, even if it's Flanders.
323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me, text the program as well. Have a safe, fun, amazing day. Talk to people. What? Yeah. Get out. Find out what we can do to make a difference. Simple thing. It starts with us. Smile a lot. And most importantly, above everything else, laugh. Laugh. It's great for you. We'll do it again tomorrow. We got you over the hump. Night, night, Jack.
This is The Chad Benson Show.